but arrive at the end of the 20th century, where we are today, and we've accumulated huge volumes of knowledge about what we are capable of. But we have an enormously hard time delivering on it. Ineptitude is our new modern struggle.
성공을 위한 채널. 우리가 하는 일은 한 번에 성공하는 경우가 드물죠. 항상 실패를 하고 많은 시간을 낭비하죠. 그럼 어떻게 해야 실패하는 경우를 줄일 수 있을까요? 아툴 가완디가 그 방법을 알아내어 알려줍니다. 그는 의사이자 베스트셀러 작가로 아마존 10대 도서에도 선정이 되었죠. 그럼 그가 말하는 실패를 줄이는 방법을 영상을 통해 알아봅시다.
The philosophers point out that there are two sources of failure in anything we set out to do as human beings. One is ignorance. Knowledge has not always existed, and science has only filled in the gaps. Hasn't filled in all the gaps, to say the least. And so we have failures because we just don't know what the best thing to do is. But then the second source of failure they call ineptitude, meaning the knowledge exists, but an individual or a group of individuals failed to apply it correctly. What I think is different about our time is that we've reached the precipice of a shift in the kinds of failures we are up against. For most of human history, our major problem was grappling with ignorance. We didn't know the illnesses that faced us or what to do about them, and we didn't know enough about the natural world, but arrive at the end of the 20th century, where we are today, and we've accumulated huge volumes of knowledge about what we are capable of. But we have an enormously hard time delivering on it. Ineptitude is our new modern struggle. So what we did in this project with the WHO was start looking to other fields and ask how they've handled complexity when it has become extreme. We looked at the aviation world, for example, and as planes have become more complicated, what they have done to make it so that pilots are able to manage situations better, not worse. We looked at the skyscraper building world, where the proliferation of super specialties in that world, people who design elevators in particular ways, who also have to work with the environmental team. And when we looked at what they had in common about what they were doing, I expected to find it was different ways of training people or different kinds of technology, and instead found it was checklists, the kind of lowest tech tool you could imagine turning to. A checklist is not a theoretical tool, it is a practical tool, and you have to find a moment when a team can actually stop for 60 seconds and employ the checklist, pull it out and actually use it. They also teach us to keep it incredibly tight. A long checklist becomes a distraction, something that is just annoying as hell to use, and also impractical to use because it begins distracting you from the task that's also going on simultaneously. And so you have to chunk it, you have to break it down into small sections. You also have to be disciplined about picking out what they call the killer items, those most critical steps that could fail and that the brain can fail to remember. The principle behind being able to make it a daily part of what they did is almost a philosophical point of view. It's recognizing that no matter how good you are, you're going to fail. You will not do what you say you intend to do. The world has become too complex to hold it all in your brain. And so based on where you failed before and where you think you might fail in the future, you make a series of checks.
자신이 한 실패를 하나씩 적어보세요. 그리고 자신만의 체크리스트를 작성해보세요. 그렇게 하나씩 실수를 줄여가고 자신이 하는 일에 전문성을 더해간다면 실패하는 일을 줄어들고 좀 더 빠르게 성공을 할 수 있을 겁니다. 재미있게 보셨다면 구독과 좋아요 부탁드려요.